My first appointment with the endocrinologist, in his mind, we had to change my body to align with my brain. My whole development was just completely arrested, and I was just sick and emotional all the time. When I had lost the belief that I was this brain in the wrong body, and I was like, oh, so you mean I was probably most likely just a gay guy that they did this to, and I just never had the chance to grow up to figure that out. This was an abysmal experience to live through at such a young age. I grew up in a very small town. It was like a one red light town, population of about 2,500 people, give or take. And I was diagnosed with autism at a very young age. It was about 3 or 4 that I was diagnosed. I was an effeminate little boy. I had very typical, I guess, more feminine interests. I was obsessed with Disney princesses. I liked musicals, and people in my very small area were not particularly open to that. Did get a lot of pushback from a very young age from family, teachers, peer groups. So that had led me to become somewhat of a withdrawn, fairly isolated kid. And it wasn't until I was about, I would say, the age of 12 when I had discovered trans influencers online. I had a blooming interest in like makeup and beauty and things of that nature, fashion. I had followed some makeup gurus around that time who were feminine men, and I had related to them on some level. And they had begun transitioning around this time and talked about how much better it made their lives. They kind of presented a way out like, oh, if I do this, then I don't have to suppress my personality, essentially. I had also had a tutor around this time who is a family friend of mine, who is the only other gay person I knew in real life. And she had started transitioning around this time, female to male. I had questions for her, and that sort of started the discussion around these topics. And that would be the time that I had gained a concept of gender identity and really started to think about it in those terms. I officially came out as saying I think I might be transgender. It was in February of 2016 after I had turned 13. My tutor, she was very open. She presented these doctors like these are the professionals, and they'll be able to give you therapy and tell you if this is right or wrong for you, and they'll be able to help you either way. And that's ultimately where my mom and I had gotten the referral to go to the gender clinic. According to my tutor, I was supposed to have months and months and months of therapy before I had gotten an official diagnosis. My first appointment was on May 12th of 2016, but it was only that single appointment that it took for her to give me a diagnosis. She had spoken to myself and my mom separately, and she spoke to me first and just had me tell her my life story and where I came from, my background, my environment, my fears of growing up, what had brought me in to see her, which of course a lot of it did revolve around homosexuality and my beliefs around that. And I had talked to her about the influencers I had seen online, and she just affirmed everything when I would talk about my fears of growing into a man. And she went into this whole thing about feminine essence and describing how I might not actually be gay. I'm this other thing that's trans. I'm early onset gender dysphoria. So she sort of took my insecurities and my fears and framed it around this idea that I'm this true trans kid and that I needed medical intervention as soon as possible. After she spoke to me, she then had a conversation with my mother, which was, we hear this line a lot, would you rather have a living daughter or a dead son? So the message that I had received was if I didn't do this, my life would be so miserable that the majority of people choose suicide over living that. So I have to do this or I might as well commit suicide. From that appointment, we got the referral to go see an endocrinologist at the most prestigious children's hospital in my state. And my first appointment with the endocrinologist, he came in, he was very jovial, so there was essentially no way in his mind I would grow up gay. I was a different kind of person. He had explained it like it was this neurological intersex condition, which of course if it was, then that's not curable. So that's why in his mind, we had to change my body to align with my brain. And my mom of course questioned him on that because she was fine with me dressing however I wanted to dress, but she did not want me making permanent changes until I was an adult. And he had said, well, if you're not a supportive home, we could always step in and find him one, which I feel like is what ultimately had pushed it through and allowed the medicalization to occur. He did not go in depth with long-term risks. He did explain that there would be a risk of infertility while I'm on them, and they did offer me a chance to save my sperm, but I was so young that I didn't really understand what that was. I was on spironolactone for a few weeks. It stops your testosterone from being able to bind to your androgen receptors. I had some fainting spells when I first started it because they had me on too high of a dose for my body weight. When you first start testosterone blocker, your testosterone actually spikes. So when I was going through that, I was starting to get like thicker peach fuzz on my body and stuff, and I'd never had that before, so it like freaked me out. Around this time, the endocrinologist, I don't remember how we got our numbers exchanged, but he had started calling me on my private phone to kind of talk me down when I would like have panic attacks, like, oh my God, I'm gonna masculinize because I have peach fuzz on my body, God forbid. And he would be like, it's all gonna get better once you go on hormones and your life is just gonna be so much better. After I was a few weeks on Spiro, I had started the estrogen. And with that, the immediate side effects were like, of course, chest tenderness, and I had started growing like breasts and wider hips, things of that nature. It wasn't until I had turned 14 that I had gotten my puberty blocker implant, which I believe was in January of 2017. When I had first gotten the puberty blocker implant, of course it's like a painful procedure because they like cut your arm open and, implant this device and they like shoot it in there. But immediately when I had felt the drugs start releasing into my body, it was almost like this outpouring of like coldness into my body. And it made me feel very sick at first, and like I was having really bad hot flashes, and like I would break out in a cold sweat. My estrogen had also started having a much more prominent effect after I was on the blocker, because my peach fuzz had essentially thinned out and went away. I hardly even had hair on my legs during this time. I was just like, it froze me as like a child, essentially. And after I was on it for a few weeks, I started having really bad muscle spasms. I was getting those in my legs and in my arms and in my core, just like anywhere where I really had muscle tone. When my body had started trying to have erections, the blocker had affected that, and they were incredibly painful, like this sharp, sharp pain. I often compare it to like, if you can imagine broken glass in your genital area, that's what it felt like. I had grown breasts during this time. I was having problems with fluid leakage from my chest as well, which this doctor had explained away as lactation. Started having full-on urinary incontinence by this time, so I wasn't like dribbling, I was having like full-blown accidents. And since then, that's been fairly consistent. And it wasn't until March of 2017 that this doctor had wanted to stunt my growth. Took a scan of my hand in the radiology department, and they had projected my growth based off my growth plates that I would be between 6'1" and 6'4" if I was left alone. And he had this whole conversation with me. Of course, when my mom was not in the room, they would often have a student or a nurse or someone escort her out, and most of the appointment was just me and him. He had this whole conversation with me that if I was that tall, women don't get that tall, so I wouldn't be passable, and if I'm not passable, then it would make it harder for me to find a husband, which I know sounds insane, but I was 14, so that was a huge concern of mine at the time. Like, will I ever be loved? And he was like, well, you need to be passable to be able to find that, so we have to stunt your growth, essentially. So he had upped my estrogen to, I believe it was up to 6 milligrams in this appointment to fuse my growth plates so that I wouldn't grow any taller. And I haven't grown since. I started growing like bone masses. When I had stopped the stuff within the first few months of going off of hormones, I started getting aching really bad in my bones, and I started getting these tiny bumps that started coming up, and they've been growing ever since. And they've just kept growing and spreading over time. These look like normal bone, they say, but we don't know what they are. So that tells me that it might have something to do maybe with him stunting my growth, because it seems to be along where my growth plates roughly would connect. But I don't know. That's my speculation. I was just a very trusting, isolated kid. I had no self-worth at the time, and the fact that they were so friendly and so, it seemed like, concerned for me, I just put my trust in them. And this doctor had, of course, started, texting me on my private cell and calling me and emailing me, and this continued back and forth in between the appointments made me really feel like, oh, this man cares about me. Like, this is my doctor. And it's stupid to say now, but I had begun to feel like this man was also sort of like a friend. It didn't seem unusual at the time. My mom did not know that he was calling and texting me and emailing me as much as he was. They always treated her like she was just ignorant and she just didn't know what she was talking about. And after I was on the blocker and my body was trying to, and I was having pain, I did talk to him about that, and he did have a whole conversation with me on how there's other ways to have sexual pleasure, and, has anyone ever talked to you about, like, your prostate and anal vibrators and things of that nature? I don't think it's normal for a doctor to be having that conversation with a teenager. There were a lot of treatment recommendations that he had made that, in retrospect, of course, I find disturbing. Like, one of them was, like, he wanted me using Snapchat filters to, like, see what he wanted me to look like, or what I would want to look like after surgery, because it makes your brow bone look less prominent, it widens your eyes, and they were pointing out different surgeries that they thought I needed. They wanted me to have, like, a rhinoplasty if I wanted my lips done, my chin shaved down, mandible shaved. They wanted my trachea to be shaved. They wanted my, like, brow bone and orbital bones redone because, according to them, women don't have this, like, crest that shadows their eyes. So they recommended me to go to this store. They didn't describe it as a sex store. They said it's a store that supports trans people, and they wanted me to go there to get materials that they said would help me pass better before the hormones, like, did their work. We thought, like, oh, like, bra stuffers, because I was at the age where my friends were, like, stuffing their bras and stuff. We were sent with the gender therapist's card, which I still have, and we were to present this. It had a little sticky note on the back, and we were to present that to the owner of the store to gain entry, because of course I was 13. Name it again, it's called Janet's Closet. And it's a cross-dressing store. We did not realize this at the time. So it looked normal at first, but we had made a turn around this corner and it was like sex toys, like dildos. I saw like a full body like skin suit that looked like a naked woman. That I was like, oh, what's that? And Janet had explained that as, when people have bottom dysphoria but haven't had the surgery, they might wear that to like go to the bathroom so they don't have to see what they were born with. And my mom looked very alarmed during this time. Like, I remember just her eyes looked very tearful. I had no sense of confidence or self-worth at all. And I, of course, was bullied a lot during this time because it was obvious that I was, like, born male, but I was developing breasts and having all of these medical problems. I missed out on pretty well the normal milestones that you'd have for, like, adolescence. Like, I wasn't dating in my adolescence. It was obvious I was, like, a male that was growing breasts and, things of that nature. I would go out with my friends sometimes, but we didn't really, we would, go for a walk in nature, go play at the beach. I didn't, get invited anywhere, do much of anything. I was very isolated during this time. A lot of my company was just, older men online. As gross and ridiculous as it is to say, that was, the only place that I was really getting, positive attention or feedback was, men online. My mother telling me that she loves me no matter what, and my doctor who is saying, I can make everything better for you. So, I mean, my whole development was just completely arrested, and I was just sick and emotional all the time. I had been seeing a new endocrinologist since I was 18. I had a falling out with this original one, and I've never spoken to him since. And this new endocrinologist, I was the youngest person she had ever met or seen that was medicalized, as young as I was, and I was the youngest person she was ever prescribing these to. Most of her other patients, as far as she told me, were like well into their adulthood. Her other patients were not having this kind of fluid leakage from their chest. They were not having such pervasive issues with urinary incontinence or sexual dysfunction. She didn't quite know what was happening with my body. I was having horrible night sweats, like so bad I could wring out my sheets. I would wake up soaking wet. And I just felt very ill all the time. And I was so unhappy. I'd be crying in her appointments. Like every appointment, I would be sobbing. It took a long, gradual process of me being sick for years on this stuff because I still thought that I needed it before I had eventually realized. It really wasn't until March of 2024 when the WPATH files came out and I was able to read some of those documents that I was like, oh, you mean these doctors are lying to people and they are actively misleading people. And I had started putting things together and even asking some of my other friends that transitioned as adults, or even my best friend that had it at the same age but a different hospital. They weren't sent to a store like that. They didn't have exams like I had. They were not spoken to or have such extensive communication with their doctor like I had. So it started a gradual process of realizing like, hey, that was a little inappropriate. And they also pushed this on me on low to no quality evidence. And that's ultimately what led me into my official detransition, I would say. Because that's when I had lost the belief that I was this brain in the wrong body. And I was like, oh, so you mean I was probably most likely just a gay guy that they did this to, and I just never had the chance to grow up to figure that out. I literally felt like my whole world came crashing down because it was like I built my whole adolescence was shaped around this. I literally felt like the sky was falling in, and I went into like this horrific depression and realizing that these people did that to me while making it sound like I would live a normal life, and they sort of set me on the opposite trajectory, just like it destroyed me. I didn't get my records until January of 2025. So I was already into my detransition. But when I had obtained my records, they falsified almost everything. They made up a whole backstory for me saying I identified as a girl since the age of 2, and I had tried to harm myself because people wouldn't let me express my female gender identity. They'd also said I tried to remove my genitalia at the age of 7. And that was like, to them, like a clear sign that I have always been trans. None of this was true. They made it sound like it was entirely led by me and like I wanted all of this and I was bringing all of this up, and I wasn't. It was all their recommendations. I believe that there was something for them to gain out of this, whether that be financial or just a personal draw to doing this stuff. I don't know, but I do know that doing this to me did make them a lot of money. I was so young, I don't know whether I would have just been able to be a gay man or not. I never had the experience to live that life. I spend a lot of my time advocating for stronger medical safeguards because I really just don't want this to happen to another kid. Be it a kid like I was, or since I've started detransitioning, I've met a lot of people from all sorts of different situations who were medicalized in this way, many of them as minors. It honestly just makes my stomach turn, and I just don't want another child to have to suffer in this way. Do I think the doctors and therapists who treated me as a child should still be practicing? I don't think so. I don't think they should be practicing medicine. I don't know if the current medical system is equipped to take full responsibility with quite how pervasive this medical scandal is, because it's affected people. You know, I speak, of course, from the gay male experience growing up, but it's affected people in all areas of life, from all walks of life, and in such permanent pervasive ways. When you're that young, you don't have the life experience or the maturity to know who you are yet, or like even conceptualize of who you'll be in 5 years, 10 years. I just needed more support to build some self-worth. I needed to know that who I was maturing into, like maybe, I guess, a non-conforming male that was drawn to males, I needed to be told that there was nothing wrong with that. They caught me at such a pivotal point in my identity formation that I just had no ability to conceptualize of my future. You know, at 13, we're all insecure. So the fact that they weaponized that insecurity to essentially exacerbate my body image issues, and then selling me, of course, hormones and surgery as a fix-all for that, it's really horrible. I really just needed the care that you would give to any distressed gay teenager, ultimately. You know, this world is so big and so diverse. There is always going to be a spot out there that will love you and accept you, make you feel appreciated with who you are as you are, without these having to change your body to find that acceptance or that confidence.